Good morning, Alta Realty Group agents. This is Kevin Lauren. Welcome to the Wednesday webinar. Appreciate you guys taking time out to learn a little bit more about real estate marketing. And today we are joined by both Travis Breton, our corporate broker, as well as Bill Seitz. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin.
All right. And we also got Travis here. Let's bring Travis on. Travis, good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. So guys, before we get into today's presentation, Bill, I'm going to bring up your 10-year Treasury map. It looks like rates have begun, they've come down a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, so what's happened here just in the last few days is this trade deal with, Trump and China has, I'm not going to say spooked the market, but there's been an adjustment. And I don't know how many of us follow the stock market on a day-to-day basis, but I think the Dow dropped about 600 points 2 days ago. And that was news that Trump was going to increase tariffs with China. I believe China countered back with an increase of their own. So they're in a little fight here with with China. So the market did get a little bit spooked. The Dow dropped about 600 points, which I believe it had reached a new all-time high. So it's just a correction. So it's not a huge thing. But what it did do was drop interest rates a little bit further. And if you remember, about 5 or 6 weeks ago, we talked about a really good opportunity to maybe refinance or visit some clients that maybe are looking to do cash out, or we're right back where we were. You can look at that graph, right where we were at the end of March, and you can see the two dips. So the end of March, it bottomed out pretty much right here at 2.387% on the 10-year, and then we climbed back up with a little bit of up and down, and then we're right back there again. So you can kind of see the life cycle of about 6 weeks, what has happened with interest rates. So right now is a great time. I know we're working on a couple refinances because we want to take advantage of this for everybody, but that's just good for you guys to kind of know what's going on there.
Yeah.
Additionally, I'm just about finished with a new investor package with Royal Pacific. They do loans that a lot of lenders don't really want to do. So sub 600, FICO, FHA, VA, some out of the box stuff, they will do it. So I think once we have that investor on board, we'll be able to take on some more, challenged scenarios, but nonetheless be able to get them done. So that'll be a great resource for everybody. On another note, I want to congratulate Linda Van Pelt for her upcoming closing with an Op City deal next week. I think that's great. She's been working hard on these leads, and she's going to see the fruits of her efforts. Late next week, she will be closing an Op City deal, so that's awesome.
Nice work, Linda.
Yep. And additionally, I want to remind everybody, if you are working those leads, just make sure you stay current. I'm getting quite a few emails. People aren't updating their leads. Super simple. Just remind yourself. Takes literally 90 seconds. Go in. If the lead's is not good, or you want to give it back to Op City, whatever the update is, just make sure you do it. That way, you don't get suspended, or I don't get the emails that say that you need to clean up the leads. So. I know a lot of us aren't, maybe we want instant gratification with these leads, but I don't care whether you're doing real estate or loans, we're all going to be weeding through leads. Like I spent 35 minutes on the phone 2 nights ago with a lead that came from one of our agents, and he was awesome. He referred them over to me, had a nice, half-hour plus conversation with them. And at the end of the conversation, it was deemed that the best bet for them is just to kind of sell their house, clean up their credit. They got some things on there that just are probably not surmountable at this time, and we'll revisit in maybe 9 to 12 months. So I've got to go through leads all day long too, and it's super important that we realize that leads aren't always going to be a slam dunk, and that we got to kind of get through the bad ones to get to the good ones. So just a reminder there on that. And That's about it, Kevin.
Perfect, buddy. Well, I appreciate the update as always. And so with that, we're going to head right into the meat of our webinar today, which is going to be all about the Digital CMA. So the Digital CMA is just a digital version of a comparative market analysis, and pretty much everybody on this call should have access to what's called Cloud CMA. So Cloud CMA, and so all you have to do is just log into your local board, OCAR, whatever you're in, and you can go to almost. I'm telling you, almost every one of them gives you free access to Cloud CMA. So it's right here. We just click on Cloud CMA, and Travis, you use Cloud CMA, of course, as well, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's easy. It's just a simple way to do it, and it's really comprehensive. I mean, you don't have to use all the bells and whistles, but it has everything that we need in order to provide an accurate analysis of home price and market for our buyers and sellers. So, and Travis, do you have anything to add in any just before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, just the importance of CMAs and how we can use them with our buyers and sellers?
I think that Cloud CMA is a good system because if you don't have, a full-blown digital presentation that you've made kind of on the side, this can kind of slide in as your listing presentation as well, because there's a lot of extra sheets that could be customized on this that show you what your services are and your experience, and you could throw reviews in there. So I mean, you can use this as your listing presentation as well if you haven't taken the time to put one together yet.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And of course, our agents have access to our agent marketing system that does create really, really good digital listing presentations. But I think obviously the best thing to do is to have a really nice digital listing presentation in conjunction with a really high quality digital CMA. So that is kind of our best practice. So it's super simple. All we do is we go and we'll just take a look at one real quick. And so one thing to notice is they do give you the ability to play a slideshow as well as just view a PDF. I don't know about you, Travis, but I'm not a real big fan of the slideshows. How about you?
I use the PDF.
Yeah, PDF is just a lot better. Easy deal. Click it. You've got your PDF. You can download this. And so let's just go through this real quick. It's just, it's prepared for the client. I prepared it for myself. It's got really good info. It just looks slick. It's obviously branded with everything, our logos and all that kind of stuff. It gives a good breakdown of what a CMA is. It tells how it's created. And then it gives a good, overall map listing of all the properties in the area. Just looks slick. It's got all the information. So we'll get back into that in a second. But in order to create one of these lovely deals, we just click the button, create. And notice that you can create a buyer tour, property reports, flyers. For the sake of this webinar, we're just going to go ahead and just create a CMA. So we'll do it for a client. We'll just say that this is for Robert Smith. You can put in notes, whatever, and these don't appear on the report itself. These would just be notes just for you. Put in the property address. Let's put in, I want to do one that's real, so we'll do. And notice the system will pick up exactly what it is. And so let's just do this one. I've already done one for myself, so we'll do this. A lot of times it will populate the bedrooms and bathrooms. So we'll just do.
It may not be doing that because it may not have a feed in.
That's true. So let's just try one in our area. We know this has a feed. So yeah, that'll populate. A lot of times it won't populate every single field, but not a big deal. Then you're going on to add a cover photo. So let's go here. And if you don't have a picture of the property itself, maybe you just put in a logo or a picture of something, right? Doesn't really matter.
You can always try Google Earth too, and do a little screenshot and make one for yourself of the home.
Yep, absolutely.
Street view.
Yep.
Something on this this feed is to make sure that the beds and baths are correct. Sometimes they're incorrect. I just did one of 5 days ago, and there's a larger house, but it kept showing up as a 3-bedroom, but it's actually a 4-bedroom. It's just in tax records incorrectly, so
yep.
I just made that adjustment. So it's more accurate, and the sellers don't question it or question your ability to market their home.
That's for sure. Yeah, you don't want to show up and have the wrong information.
Yeah.
And then, there's advanced information if you've got all of these other things. And sometimes these do get populated, but you want to make sure that you fill this out as much as humanly possible, right? We want to get the most accurate information. So then there's 2 different ways to get the comparative listings with this CMA system. We can list actual MLS numbers that we know are in the area, or this is really the best way to do it. We'll just click this by proximity, the quick and dirty way to do it. So not a hard thing at all. So get at least 10 listings or whatever we want, right? 10, I think it's probably a good number. Don't you think, Travis?
I wouldn't go more than 10, no.
It gets
Yeah.
I mean, look at this. Yeah, 50 listings, that's a mess, because
not to mention the thing's going to be 100 pages long.
That's the thing, because they'll give us, all the information on those 10 listings. So 10 is plenty for sure. Then only go back 1 year off market listings, depending on the market. You may want to adjust that, right, Travis?
Yeah, depending on the type of property. I mean, if you're in a higher volume area, or maybe it's a master planned area where there's a lot of tract housing, typically you can find a lot of listings pretty easily. So I try and keep it a little tighter on the months back.
Exactly. And then, in certain areas, maybe there hasn't been, anything sold within the year. Who knows? Yeah. Right. So in those cases, you'll want to adjust it. Rule of thumb, a year is pretty good though, right?
Yeah.
And then more criteria. Shoot, we can slice this 7 ways to Sunday if we want. I don't really recommend that we do that. It's going to give us a good, depiction of what's around there, right? So let's just go ahead and we'll fetch the listings. And it's going to do some work. It's going to check the MLS. Then it'll come back with all of those listings. And what we're really doing here is, we're doing our research too. So this is helping us, come up with what we think the price is. One of the main things that we're hired to do as realtors is, determine price. What should we price this at, right? Right, Travis?
Yep.
So, this is a great tool for us to use. And so, and Bill, I know you've got tons of, or I'm not sure. There's Bill. Yeah, I know, Bill, you've got tons of experience in pricing, homes. And, this is a great tool to use, right?
Well, I think there's a couple things about this, and I don't think you can be completely dependent on the data. Is super important, and Travis is right. It depends on the kind of neighborhood you're in, or if high volume. If you're in a high end area where there's very low turnover, you really have to be very aware of what each attribute of each property is as well. Is it on a corner? Is it on a busy street? What are the upgrades inside? I mean, that's about really knowing your market too. If you're just trying to get some basic data to clients, I mean, that you can kind of make it work. But I'll tell you what, if you don't really know why these things are selling for what the price is, you could have a similar square foot property sell for a big disproportionate amount of money or less money for a number of factors. So you got to be a little bit careful with the data and know what you're talking about.
Hold on. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So it's a really good idea to use this, data, and then, of course, go do the other due diligence that you're going to do, because right here in this little spot right here, we're going to be setting that price, and we're basically, kind of putting our neck out on the line of what we think that property should be priced at, right?
Just looking at what came up here, I mean, we obviously have a pretty big discrepancy in what's going on. We've got maybe it's a hill, maybe it's something with a view, or a higher end neighborhood down the street. And I don't know if 329 Travis is in that neighborhood or the one down the street. That you would probably know better than me, but I would be kicking out one of these neighborhoods for sure.
Right. So, I mean, I'll just tell you this, everything in here, this is up on a hill. Everything down here is down further on the hill. So it's a direct reflection of the price points right here, just in that. So if without knowing the area and not being an area expert, you wouldn't really know that. So, I think it's really key to use these CMAs as just kind of the base of information. And then you've got to, of course, go and, be the expert on the area, right? And so otherwise, how do we know what to put this? Because this green box is asking us what we're going to set the price at. So it's kind of a big step, right?
So I like to use, I guess you would call it appraisal standards when I'm trying to find these comps, and that's what I explain to the client when I go there too. Is I'm using criteria that an appraiser is going to use. They're looking at the same thing I'm looking at, and that's why I'm pricing your home the way I am. And basically, I go plus or minus 20% on the square footage to bracket the home and the comps that I'm trying to find. And I try and stay within, in this neighborhood, I'd probably go a mile radius. If it was something a little more dense, I'd go half, just depending on where the comps are.
Yeah.
And then I try and stay between, 10 years plus or minus on the year built. And then obviously there's going to be pools and things like that. But, that'll bring in a pretty tight grouping of homes that you can use to show them. And then I explain the same process to the potential client, I guess, of how I came up with that value, and these are the same standards that an appraiser typically uses to at least start their search and find the homes. That's their goal, is to find the closest home, the most similar home.
Correct. So then down here, notice that these are the 10 that the computer selected, but it's kind of cool because they also give us these other ones that have closed or pending or got canceled. So we can actually select any of these at this point if we look at one of these and say, oh, you know what, that's really relevant, or that property is relevant as well. So we can just tick this box. Or same way, we can go, you know what, this is really not, this is not an accurate, this was our low, right? So maybe we'll throw that low one out, right, Travis?
Yeah. And if you were looking at it, maybe the thing was totally trashed, or, it could be really irrelevant.
Yeah.
To what you think the clientele might be if you haven't been in there yet.
For sure. So this is a cool spot here. This details and adjustments, guys. Click that. And now we can take a look right from this screen at exactly what this is. So we can say, oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, that house. Okay. And we can scroll through the pictures right here. Really helpful, guys. I mean, these digital tools are just, they're there for us to make our jobs easier. So we can scroll through the place and go, okay, this is not an upgraded kitchen. We can get a better idea, right? And so, you know what? I'm glad that we took that one out, because that's not really a match. And by the way, let's take a look at this high one too. So this high one, okay, now we're talking. This is, at the top of the hill. The view is spectacular, but also probably not as close to what we're of our subject property as well. So we may want to get rid of that one too. Get rid of the high, get rid of the low, And now we may have a little bit easier or a little bit more of an adjusted price, right? So that would be my recommendation. And then,
Yeah.
look through some of these other ones and just make sure there's none of the other ones that we missed. This is I happen to know that Rodman Drive is in this area that was canceled. So, I don't think canceled ones should be selected. How about you, Travis?
No, I don't really see a lot of value in having the canceled ones if you have other comps. Unless you're trying to get a price reduction, maybe. But
Yeah.
I like the pendings. Those are my favorite because it shows me what a home was listed at, and they were able to solicit an offer at that price. So, and that's going to be the new comp, hopefully,
Right.
While you have this home marketed. So, and I'll call those agents sometimes too, and just ask them what it's pending for, and a lot of times they'll say, what they got the contract price for. So I'll just say, hey, I'm working on a listing down the street. Can you mind telling me what you guys wanted a contract for, and if you've had the appraisal yet,
Yeah. No, that's a great insight, Travis. So once we have all these selected, we can go ahead and we can, say, all right, based on all these things, let's say that this property is worth $990,000. Sounds about right. So then we go ahead and we can add listings too, if we want to add, one that we know the MLS number for. So we customize the report. That'll take a second because it's producing a very, very cool deal. So from here, we can also select different themes. This is where Travis was saying we can really customize this thing. We can create it. We can edit the cover letter. We can put an agent resume in here. All of those things that we saw when we were checking out the PDF of the CMA, the report. All of those things that we were looking at, it's like we can take them out, we can put them back in, we can do whatever we want from this screen here. So as Travis said, you can get really detailed. You can really, edit the marketing action plan, and all of this stuff is in there. It's really good, I would say stock stuff. But of course, if you really want to customize this, you can do anything you want here. So we save that. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
If you have a certain value proposition that, maybe you solicited this listing from, maybe it's a 30-day listing guarantee or, something like that, that's where you would put some of this info too, just so you can kind of reinforce it when you're with the client.
For sure. So, so all of these things, obviously, we can go through. And then when you're satisfied with all of the things that you've, customized, covers, themes, all that stuff, easy deal, publish the report. But really, you can do one of these things in 2 seconds, but I really hope that you guys take the time to go through them and, use them as a tool, as we discussed, in your research in determining, helping you determine what the price is. So it should be a process that you go through while you're determining price, right, Travis?
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I really like about this that I've noticed that the potential clients look at the most is they like the map because they want to see how close those homes are to them because they know their neighborhood really, really well. So
yep. Here, I'll click on the PDF.
Hey, that one's on a ridge, that one, or mine's on a ridge and that one's not, so I have a view. They definitely know the streets around them. So I've noticed that the map portion is a favorite from them, and they definitely like to see the pictures of the other homes to compare their home. And a lot of times I'll make sure that I include maybe a dud in there, one that hasn't been remodeled or is out of date or something like that, so I can show them the difference. Look, here's one that's fully remodeled, and look at the pictures inside. It looks beautiful. And, here's one that wasn't, doesn't show well. Pictures are bad. They did a bad job listing it. And their home falls somewhere within that spectrum. So then I can, I guess, validate the price that I'm suggesting for their home, saying, yours is kind of closer to this one. This is where I think we should price it. It was on the market for, 30 days and was able to, get an offer eventually, and it didn't even sell for list price, because of the condition or something like that. I mean, obviously we're not trying to insult the people, but we do want to, kind of show them comparisons, and, the pictures go a long ways and the map goes a long way. So when I do the digital part, it has an option to show the additional photos of the home. So you can do just those 2 photos there. And then this page that you're on right now is the additional photos. I actually throw that in too, so that they can actually see, how good the kitchen looked, how good the view was, so on and so forth.
Definitely. No, I mean, in this, as a home, seller, this is such amazing information. If my, realtor hands me this, and obviously, guys, we can print this out, but if I'm handed this book of information, I am now armed. I feel like I have the information that, it's not like I just have his opinion or I have her opinion. I have backed up solid concrete information of why they arrived at that price and what I think. Maybe and the the seller themselves, a lot of times we've all been through this. Okay, actually, I think it should be this, right? And who really sets the price? It's the seller. So, so this also gives them information, and it empowers them, and it makes them feel like they, have the correct information to make the decision themselves. And so another really cool thing is, it's got the remarks, it's got all of the stuff, right? And so below that, then we get into the actual analysis, and then it has, those stats that we were looking at. And remember how we threw out the high and the low? Well, that's helping us here, right? And
average days on market, that's a good one that they want to know too, and something that I'll point out as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's huge, right? Days on market, DOM right here. Amazing, And then here's where, that was we put that number in, right?
Yeah.
So, and then, comparables, blah, blah, blah. It's got all the other stuff. And then in closing, we have our, this is kind of what you're talking about, Travis, where this can be turned into the listing presentation as well. You get through that and it's like, all right, well, here's how we do it. And here's our action plan. We got to sign the listing agreement. Here's what we do in the first week, second week, so on. This is how it's broken down. Really cool,
And some of the marketing stuff, you can actually adjust it to where it goes, excuse me, before you get into the actual CMA part. So if you want to talk about, your marketing action plan and different things like that before you get into the comps of their home, to help you with your flow, you can adjust the position of all these little reports and graphs and things like that.
For sure. And you can also edit them. Once you've created it, it's not set in stone. You can go back and you can edit the entire thing easily. So that was in that customize area. Again, just a reminder. So you can go back in and customize and say, you know what, we're going to add this, we're going to add that. And these are really cool. These are extra Tom Ferry, kind of branded stuff. And we can add any of these things, right? So power pack pages and, all kinds of really cool stuff. So as always, these webinars are meant to, kind of get you to pay attention to something that you may not be using. And I want you guys to get in there. First of all, figure out how you, make sure that you're able to access Cloud CMA through your local board. If you're not sure about that, I'm happy to help. Best way to do that, of course, is to go to our Calendly link. It's calendly.com/Alta Realty Group. And I'd love to have you guys schedule an appointment with me one-on-one, and we can make sure that we're handling this stuff and getting you guys up to speed with technology and That way you're blowing away your competition, and most of all, you are looking like a rock star, even in front of those young little millennials.
Yep.
So, Travis, really appreciate you coming on the webinar as usual. Bill, thank you for coming on the webinar as well.
Absolutely, Kevin.
All right, guys, get out there, make it a great day and a productive week, and we'll see you next week on the webinar. Bye-bye.